Wow, another iceberg chart. Who could have ever predicted this? As always, buckle your fuckles, kiddos. Today we're covering the conspiracy iceberg chart by yours truly. New World Order conspiracy theory is a theory that alleges every action your government takes that you politically disagree with is simply a step towards total world domination. Why? Reasons? You remember that billionaire with a ton of celebrity friends and private islands and shit who was caught for trafficking children and using them as prostitutes? Yeah, that guy. Him. His face is right here. Look at it, the motherfucker. Well, he killed himself while on suicide watch, with 2 guards watching him and security cameras pointed at him. And he definitely killed himself, and the security guards didn't just magically disappear when he died, and other prisoners certainly didn't hear screaming coming from his cell. It was definitely suicide. Area 51. This conspiracy theory alleges that the US government is hiding alien technology in the center of Nevada. And personally, as a Nevada resident, I think that if the US government was going to hide aliens anywhere, Central Nevada would be a good spot because it's somewhere God has completely abandoned. Faked moon landing. This conspiracy theory is a grandfather of all conspiracy theory, and it alleges that the US government faked the moon landing to defeat the Russians. And despite it being total bullshit, there's a scary amount of articles in support of this for some reason. CIA killed JFK. Now, this is another age-old conspiracy theory, but JFK spent a considerable amount of his career cock-blocking the CIA by trying to reconcile with Fidel Castro and end the Cold War, both things that the CIA at the time seemed relatively against, and with all the fucked up shit we're gonna see the CIA do further on in this video, can we really put it past them? MKUltra. This one isn't even a conspiracy theory, it's just something that the CIA did that involved kidnapping people, drugging them, and overall trying to brainwash people using mind control and LSD. It's over now, but Jesus Christ, if you want to research this, it is some fucked up shit. Like, this is some stuff I'd expect Jeffrey Dahmer to do if he was given federal money. 9/11 was an inside job. Now, this conspiracy theory propositions that 9/11, the terrorist attack that destroyed the World Trade Center in New York, was a false flag attack so the US government could have another excuse to deploy full force in the Middle East. And the common argument you will hear and likely have heard is, but jet fuel can't melt steel beams, except for the fact that fires burning inside the building could warp them, and they don't need to melt, they just need to warp. The Clintons. Now, this might be where you're thinking I'm about to put on the red hat and the tinfoil condom. No, I just simply think they aren't real. Look at him. Look at this man. You think this guy was cool enough to play saxophone wearing sunglasses and then coerce a female co-worker into giving him a blowjob in an utterly despicable act? No way. The Clintons simply don't exist, and that's my final take. Black helicopters. This conspiracy theory ponders upon the meaning of the black helicopters often spotted at UFO incident locations or animal gutting locations. Basically, they're silent, low-flying, and tend to be where weird shit is. Some people wonder if it's part of the New World Order, or if there's maybe like a real-life SCP Foundation or some shit. Either way, kinda weird. Korean Flight 007. On September 1st, 1983, Korean Flight 007 took off from New York back to Seoul. However, it never arrived. There was, for a time, while the plane was missing, a slew of conspiracy theories ranging from, you guessed it, the New World Order, to aliens. However, the plane was shot down over Russia after being mistaken for a US spy plane. One of the most tense times of the Cold War, but ancient history now, because who the fuck remembers the 80s? Pac and Biggie murders. These are two things that, if you ask one of my close friends, Eric, changed hip-hop forever, and they have a lot of similarities. Both were shot at a traffic light, both had females distracting them when the shots rang out, both cars were pinned in with 6 barricades. There's really a little bit too much in common to be a coincidence. However, there's also some conspiracy theories that believe that these two were never actually murdered and simply went underground. Overall, the deaths remain mysterious to this day. Jade Helm. Now, Jade Helm was a 2015 military exercise throughout the southwestern portion of the United States, but of course, people on 4chan and shit believed that it was actually an attempt by Barack Obama to overthrow the government and seize control. Why? I don't know, really. No one can ever truly understand 4chan's motives. Tech suppression. This conspiracy theory alleges that the governments of the world have had far more advanced technologies than the civilians for decades, and simply wait to release it. Which is why, as you can see in the photo above, there's often poorly photoshopped images of time travelers or people who have more advanced technology. Whether or not this is true, the government probably has some form of tech that's a little bit more advanced than what the civilians got, but I don't think there was a guy rocking sunglasses and a sweatshirt in 1921. Sureguard Theft. Sureguard was an Irish racing horse, and he was also stolen and held for ransom. Unfortunately, the horse was never returned, and the Sureguard conspiracies allege that the Mafia had the horse kidnapped so that way the people who betted for the horse would lose a shit ton of money and they would come out on top. Conspiracy still because it isn't proven, but makes sense to me. The Philadelphia experiment. Now, this is an interesting cross between conspiracy theory and urban legend, but supposedly the USS Philadelphia was equipped with technology that was meant to make it invisible. However, once it went invisible, the boat just went completely missing and was never found again, or so the conspiracy theory goes. Die Glocke, also the bell in English. Die Glocke is a supposed Nazi technology that allowed them to time travel that was developed during World War II because the Nazis did a lot of really weird experiments. However, if Nazis were able to time travel, the world would be looking much scarier right about now. That or, I don't know, Nazis just decided to chill out and let gay people exist. And the Jews, it's nice having a family. Either way, probably a hoax, definitely a hoax. Targeted individuals. This conspiracy theory alleges that some people are just simply watched all the time, for whatever reason. This is often a delusion that people suffer from. However, some people are in denial about mental health issues because of the stigma around it, and rather than realize that they have a problem that needs to be fixed, or a condition that needs to be helped, simply believe the government is out to get them, which is unfortunate. False history. The false history conspiracy theory alleges that certain portions of history, like the Bible too here, were removed from the documents and the internet and the book by the world's governments for the sake of controlling the populace. What this does? Well, I don't really know. I guess if you don't know what, Sir Reginald IV was doing in the 13th century, you can New World Order and so on, but it's a conspiracy theory. The CIA created AIDS. This conspiracy theory alleges that the Central Intelligence Agency, a despicable organization in the history of America, created the AIDS and HIV pandemic to kill off people that the government didn't necessarily like. With MKUltra and also the literal historical records of the CIA pumping crack cocaine into African American communities, I wouldn't be too surprised by this. and that is the last thing on the iceberg before level 6. Robots and vampires in the British royal family. Now, this conspiracy theory alleges that Queen Elizabeth is a vampire due to her incredibly long life. The day that woman dies is the day that the world ends, in my opinion, and that Prince Harry's wife, Meghan, is a robot because of one very poorly edited video that I could not find online, but I've seen it before. But that's this theory there. Jesus wasn't the Son of God. This conspiracy theory is built off of the fact that the Bible as we know it was not formally written until 90 AD, when most of the people who had interacted with Jesus died. Now, there is a ton of religious texts surrounding Christianity that were just kind of lost to time and lost because the church disagreed with them. To summarize, in 90 AD, when the church leaders met up and decided to unify Christianity under one text, they decided which books would be placed into the Bible. All other religious texts were against Christianity, and you were to turn them in. It's actually where the word heretic comes from, because it's Latin for choice or chooser. Those who chose to keep the forbidden books had made their choice against Christianity and thus God. These books, of course, had a very different message than the books in the Bible. These books also were found, again, with the Dead Sea Scrolls, and a lot of them basically state very clearly, Jesus wasn't the Son of God, he was just a prophet and called himself the Son of God in the way that we were all children of God through his beliefs. This is the final conspiracy. Alright, thank you so much for watching, as always. If you're new here, be sure to fucking violate that subscribe button for more content. And for those of you who are interested in hearing what I have to say up until this point, this is probably the last iceberg video I'm going to do for a while, but I will be taking a deeper look at some of the more obscure things I've briefly touched on throughout the weekly iceberg charts. Overall, thank you all so much for watching as always. Love you guys. Have a wonderful time. Memento Mori.